Welcome back to my channel. It's Cozy Christopher. Today we're going to be working on a pretty exciting video because I get these questions all the time. I get questions all the time about what is the best mic for me to use for my gaming setup. As you all can see, I've been using this Fine K658 for a while now, ever since the company sent it out to me. This is an amazing microphone that gives you amazing quality sound right out of the box. What you're hearing is raw sound. I never edit this sound. It sounds so good right out of the box. I literally can just record and let it go. But today I have a surprise for you because we're going to be comparing the difference between a condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone. Now, Fine did send me their two latest gaming mics to test out so that I could do this video. The box isn't as exciting, but this is their most recent condenser microphone. And so we're gonna open these up and we're gonna set them up on my desktop here, and then we're gonna get the video going and we're going to go through what is the difference between a dynamic and a condenser microphone. So the stage is set, right? And so I have, on my left, I have the Ampli Rocket, which is again, Fine Ampli Rocket. And then over here, I have the Fine A6T. Now, really cool thing, and listen, don't pay attention to the wires and stuff right now. We know that I usually have these things kind of clean. But I don't have time for that right now. I don't have time for that right now. And so it's kind of interesting. Which one do I talk into? And so here you are hearing the Ampli Rocket. Now, this is, again, a dynamic microphone. Excuse me. This, again, is a dynamic microphone, and that means it's an end address. That means you speak directly to the end of the capsule here. And in between 2 to 6 inches, right? 2 to 6 inches. And they even say it's sometimes better to talk across a dynamic microphone so you don't overload it. Create distortion, right? This one doesn't come with a pop filter or a windscreen, which would look like this. That would go on the end there to cover that up to stop the plosives, which are like pickles, things like that. Doesn't come with that, but you can buy those easily, or the dead cats. If that's something that you want to do. Now, let's talk about this microphone. And so you can see the smiley face right here. When it is white, it is going, and when it's red, it's muted. And so it's one touch to mute and unmute. Now, these RGB elements are cool. So the one thing about my Fine K658 is that you cannot change the colors, but on this one, there's a cable that comes along with for power and turning on the RGB, and then there's one that goes right in the back that is for the actual microphone or data transfer. And so keep in mind that if you hook this up, you need two USB ports for this. Now, let's flip through the colors. And so you have, it's kind of like a purple magenta. You have white. You have, this one switches colors through. And then you have green, red, blue, yellow. It's like a cyan or aqua, and purple again. And so I'm looking at the camera, and these may look a little washed on the camera because of the lighting that's all around. With all of that lighting off, it looks much better. And so you're not going to have, I have a 3 light setup, in my office, and you're not going to have those 3 lights pointing at your, well, you may if you're streaming, so you may, but in person, these look good. But on the camera, or at least on my OBS, it looks kind of washed, but again, that's exposure and stuff like that. And so now let's come over here and talk to this one. Now, this is the Fine A6T. Now, this is a condenser microphone. It has the same setup. So if you touch on top, the RGB goes off, and when the RGB is off, it's muted. And so this is the quickest mic, aside from like the Rockhat RGB mic, to know when or not it's lit, it's active, because when you touch it, it's off and it's now muted. And so that's cool. Now on the bottom, there is a gain meter to control the gain, if you will. And so this one doesn't have a gain meter, and I'll get back to setup here in a second. But this one has a gain meter where you can control that. And this is a side address. So you speak to the side of the microphone because the capsule is inside of it, and it's like a little circle and it faces you. And so you can address it from either side, if you will. But about 7 inches should give you the best sound for the A6T. Now, let's talk about the differences of the condenser mic versus the dynamic microphone. And I will tell you about the setup here in a second in regards to that. And so for this one, the condenser microphones, depending on what type of pattern they have, they pick up sound all around it. And so if I was to share my screen right now, you can see in that the A6T is picking up all the background noise. And so the computer is going in the background. That's really all that's going, but the fans are pretty loud on that computer. There's 9 fans in there. And so they're loud enough to create a signal or a sound, right? A sound floor, if you will. And when the screen is being shared, that is what that is. And so the A6T, and not this one, but any condenser microphone, is going to pick up all of the sound in the room. And some of them are better than others. Some of them will do a really good job of having a unidirectional cardioid type pattern so that it picks up everything in one particular direction, or cone of sound, if you will. And others, depending on the technology in them, might pick up everything. And so that's what brings me over to the dynamic microphone. Got some in my hair there. That's what brings me over to the dynamic microphone again, the Ampli Rocket. And so the difference between a dynamic microphone is that it is end addressable. It picks up the sound directly on the end, but as soon as you come over here, the sound goes away. And as soon as you're right back in front of it, addressing the end of the microphone, then the sound is back. And so one thing to keep in mind is that when you're gaming, if you're using this as a gaming microphone or a streaming microphone, you want to be locked in place. You kind of want to have your controller here. Do I got a controller at my desk? Why don't I have a controller at my desk? It's kind of weird. That you want to be locked in, and you want to be gaming, and you want to have the kind of controller, and you want to keep that mic about 2 to 4 inches from your face, and that way they can hear you. But as soon as you get excited and you start moving away from the microphone and whatnot, you lose that signal, you lose that sound. And so as you're over here, you're not going to hear, as if you're jumping around and screaming and playing Call of Duty and yada, 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 you're not going to hear it. Now, back over here with the condenser microphone, you are going to hear it. So if I'm moving around, it doesn't matter because I'm still in the addressable area of the microphone, about 7 inches. And so I can rock, I can rotate, I can do whatever, and I can still pick up sound. And so that's going to be all for me today. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm actually anxious to hear what you all are using and what type of microphones you are using, whether it's condenser or the dynamic. This is 2, 3, and I guess 1 microphones that I have tried from Fine, and all of them are phenomenal. 3 microphones and they all sound good. So as always, stay cozy in that crazy world, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.